What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down some moves that DBs cannot guard if you run them correctly. So I hope this video helps you guys out. Hope it could teach you a few new things. But also, fellas, if you are a wide receiver and would like to improve your hands, you want to be more consistent catching the ball, you want to improve your grip strength, your hand-eye coordination, check out that very first link in the description below for our 30-day wide receiver catching program. It's probably 50+ different wide receiver drills for grip strength, hand-eye coordination that do not require a quarterback. So check out that very first link in the description below if you're interested, fellas. Let's get started with this video. So now, first route we're going to be looking at here is from Dez Bryant. He's going to be running a dig route versus this inside shade press coverage DB using a move called a peek back rocker step move. Now, again, you could just consider this a peek back, but there are some different elements. This is a very, very advanced route that I think all of you can learn and all of you can get down. So we're obviously in the red zone here. He's got inside shade press and he's running a dig. So every single time as a wide receiver coming up to the line, you want to try to have a plan of action, right? So a plan of action is determined by how this DB is going to play you. A lot of guys think that, oh, I have to run an inside breaking route, so that means I need to take an inside release. The route does not dictate the move that you choose off the line. The DB dictates what you choose off the line. So he's inside shade press. We know he's inside shade for a reason. He's trying to stop the inside route. He's trying to force everything to the outside. Now, normally what I would say is that if we're like on the 50-yard line, middle of the field, and we have this inside shade press look, I would say, okay, you're going to attack his leverage inside. You're going to push vertical, run as hard as you can. The goal is to get this DB to open up his hips, and then you slip underneath him. Or maybe you work to stack over the top of him, right? Now, we're on the goal line, though. So if we were to attack him to the inside, which Dez Bryant does, and he closes the distance, he eats up the cushion, and he takes this outside release so it's easier to stack. That is exactly what you want to do off the line of scrimmage. So many wide receivers, the mistake that they'll make, they know to attack this DB's leverage, but they give a quick jab inside, and there's all this gap of space. So they try to run around, but this DB's just going to cut off the angle. Then you have no restackability. DB stays patient. We have to eat up the cushion. You want to try to step onto his toes. You want to threaten him to the inside, but close the space so we can get hip to hip with him. That's what gives me that extra step where I'm beating him by a step and it's easy to stack. But it's also easy to throw a move like this. Now, like I said, middle of the field, we could just run hard, try to get his hips to flip. But this is the red zone. We know that if we run hard and we're going full speed, this DB might not bite on that. He's just going to stay patient because, like, yeah, go run out the back of the end zone. You're out of the play. That's his mindset. He's going to stay disciplined to his leverage, which is the inside. So a great way to sell fade and sell vertical is by selling goal line fade, by peeking back with your eyes. Because you peek back with your eyes, this DB automatically thinks we're in the red zone. I don't want to get head topped. I don't want to get that quick fade to the back corner of the end zone. So he gets put on alert. And then you give him this quick little rocker step where you give him this 1-2 to the outside. Maybe he's thinking that it's a peek back out, a peek back comeback route. He tries to sit, and then guess what? We got all this separation on this dig with plenty of spacing on the play. So that's a great move that you guys can use, fellas. When you're in the red zone and you have to run an inside breaking route, like a post, like a dig, throw those eyes back to that quarterback. Make him think that you're running that fade ball. Give him a quick little jab to the outside. Maybe you're trying to set him up with a peek back out, a peek back comeback, and then we got him over the middle. So like I said, he also has plenty of spacing on the play because that's why we don't want to force the inside release. It's not just because this DB's inside leverage and we probably will get some hand contact. You're going to get rerouted, fellas. His whole purpose, don't give up the inside. So if your goal is, oh, I'm going to jab to the outside, take the inside release, guys, this DB's not going to give it up. His goal is to stay patient and to keep his leverage. And if your dig, let's say we have a concept like you're running a dig from the outside and the slot receiver's also running a dig. If you get rerouted all the way over here, that's not good, fellas. You got one guy who's going to be able to cover two people, and that is bad spacing on a play. So let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. Great job by Dez Bryant, working that peek back, hitting that rocker step to sell like he's running this peek back comeback, and then winning on the dig. So like I said, remember that peek back comeback is what Dez Bryant was trying to sell. This is an example of that. And this is another thing that you can use to set up that peek back dig route. This is what you do. You guys, it's all a mind game. You have to understand that, especially in the red zone, because what do you get a lot of in the red zone? Whether you're in high school, whether you're in middle school, whether you're in college, you are going to get a lot of man-to-man coverage in the red zone. So it's like what do you like to run a lot of in the red zone? Goal line fades, quick outs, digs, slants. You can make it all look similar. You can build off of all those routes and make them look similar. It's all a mind game. At the end of the day, a DB does not know what we are doing. They like to think they do, but they don't at the end of the day. So when we come off the ball, what do we do here? We run like maybe a quick goal line fade one time. Now what can I do? I attack him. I peek back with my eyes. Bam. Put the brakes on. Running a comeback to the bottom pylon. I got him to think greedy. I got him to see those eyes. So now we could come back to it and we could give this little peek back. He starts to settle a little bit, expect the dig, then bam. Or expect the comeback, then bam, we run a dig. It's all building, fellas. A lot of people, we talk a lot about this on this channel too, different moves to use, single cut, rocker step, all this stuff. But the longer form content that we make where we break things down for 10, 15 minutes, these videos that we upload every single day, this is where you really learn, fellas. This is where you actually really learn how to set things up because that's what we talk about. And this is exactly how you do it. You run a goal line fade a couple times, then you run that comeback, then you run the dig, you're in his head. He does not know what you're doing. And then he's got to guess. And when he's guessing, he's going to lose. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. So that peek back move is a great move to play with, whether you run an inside route, outside route, or just straight up goal line fade. You could also work that in the red zone. Okay, so this next route we're going to be looking at here is from Odell Beckham Jr., and this is a comeback and go route. So this is a great route that you guys can add to, your repertoire, the routes that you like to run. I don't necessarily like this a whole lot in one-on-ones against man coverage. You got to use it in the right situation, right? You got to use this when, you got max protection for your quarterback. He's got some time back there. Maybe they're not bringing a lot of people. Maybe it's like maybe it's like we got two tight ends in there. You're a single receiver on the outside. He's got some time. Maybe it's play action. Maybe he's rolling out, something of that nature. But a comeback and go is very, very tough to stop if you know how to run it correctly. So let's play this full speed. So Dell comes off here. We're trying to make it look like a comeback. And it has everything to do with your hips and how you guys are able to decelerate on a route. So when you're in man-to-man coverage, I think we all can agree that where is a DB supposed to be watching with his eyes? He is supposed to be watching our hips and reading our body language. His eyes are not supposed to be high. If he is watching the wide receiver's head and shoulders, he is wrong. In this case, it looks a little bit like this DB has his eyes high, but again, a disciplined DB is going to be looking here. He's going to be looking at your hips. That's what you guys have to understand. So you have to be able to sell your routes with more than just your eyes, more than just your hips, or more than just your shoulders. You have to sell it with your hips and with your body language. So when he gets up into this route, because that's where the DB is watching, when you guys sell a comeback and go, you want to try to drop on the inside foot. You change levels. You drop your hips. You decelerate. Now, the goal is to try to get your hips to look like you are running a comeback and commit to the break without slowing yourself down completely and having to restart all this momentum on the route. So you see how when he drops into this, I want you to pay attention to his second step. You see how the second step pivots almost at a 45-degree angle because that's what's starting to turn his hips. Then his third step hooks around. Fourth step actually steps down on that 45, and you see how his hips, his shoulders, his entire body language is committed. That's what gets that DB to crash. And then he's able to put the brakes on. He accelerates and puts his head down to separate and then went on this go route. This part is super important for all you young wide receivers out there because maybe you don't have a comeback and go in your playbook, but I guarantee you have a double move. I guarantee you have a slant and go. You have a hitch and go. And so many quarterbacks will overthrow this ball because wide receivers look back too early, and they blame the quarterback. It's not on the quarterback, guys. You get separation with a double move, you got to keep your head down, and you have to dig. You have to separate from this guy because the quarterback is putting it to a spot. Now, your quarterback has a weak arm. I understand. He's probably not throwing this ball downfield anyways, so they're probably not even going to call this play. But a quarterback's job is to put it to a spot. As soon as you break on the first move, he is letting it go and putting it out there. So keep that head down. Let's go get to the spot. Let's go get to the landmark that he is putting it at. So a comeback and go, fellas. It's an unguardable route if you run this thing correctly, and you can sell it with your hips, flip your hips, and then keep your head down to separate. All right, fellas, so now this next move that I want to talk about, this is a press release move. So we went over a top of the route move that you could use in multiple situations. We went over a great route to be able to run, and now we're going to be going over a press release. So this press release is called a split release, but there's a little variation to it. It is called a kickstep split release. So kickstep split release. So a kickstep is something that you would do with your back foot whenever you're in your wide receiver stance. So let's say quarterback's obviously over to the right, your inside foot is up, which is your right foot. You would do this kick step with your back foot. Now, a lot of receiver coaches out there will say that this is a false step, and I think it is a false step when you have zone coverage. So you got zone coverage, you got to get off the ball and go run like a post. If you do this with your back foot, I would consider it a false step. But in this case, it is a part of the release, and this is kind of a newer school type thing. A lot of the older school guys, maybe ones listening to this, probably shaking their head on this right now. I understand, but bear with me on this because I'm going to explain why it's important. So when you come from a position being flat flat-footed off the line. You don't have any explosion, right? You're flat-footed. You're just in your stance. To be able to create some explosion, you need to do something with your feet, which is either a kick step or like maybe a prep step. Some people like a prep step, which is essentially just picking up this front foot and putting it down. You pick it up, put it down, and you push off of it. But all it's for is to generate quickness. So let's watch what he does here. So Des kicks and then hits a split release. And you see how fast his release was. And he kick stepped, and everybody loves to say on the kick step right here that, oh, well, your feet are split. This DB's going to get hands and jab. It's so quick that DB ain't even going to see it, or at least that's how quick it needs to be. So all he's doing here is loading up his hips. You see how when he kicks behind, you see how like his hips load up for a second? That gets him into his split release. So a split release is exactly how it sounds. You're going to split your feet. Your front foot is going to go out and your back foot is going to go up. So when you have some quickness to that split, that gets a reaction out of the DB. That puts him on alert. That hesitation kind of freezes him for a second. Or maybe it makes him show his leverage. Maybe he's trying to play outside leverage. You have some twitch to this split release and he jumps outside. Then as a receiver, you could just react and take the inside. Or vice versa. You do that split release, you offer that kick step, he shades to the inside, bam, I could take the outside release. It forces a reaction out of the DB when you're sudden with your feet because he gets put on alert. So a kick step split release, you load up your hips to be able to step up quickly, step out quickly, and freeze. Now, why would you ever do a split release? And you do it because you can react. Because like I said, this DB's got one of three options here. He can either sit head up, shade to the inside, or shade to the outside, right? So when you split, you do the split release, you come to balance. You could go either way because your feet are both in the grass. Cleats are both in the grass at the same time. He jumps inside, bam, I'll take it. Jumps outside, bam, I'll take it because I splitted my feet and I got to that balance position. So that's a very, very tough release to guard, fellas. That kick step split release because there's so much quickness to it, and obviously you can react or go either way. All right, fellas, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. Always appreciate the feedback. It's always great to hear from you guys. And again, fellas, if you would like a 30-day wide receiver catching program with all the exercises you can do to improve your hands that do not require a quarterback, check out that very first link in the description below. We'd love to get you on that, fellas. I'll see you guys next time.